We all know the trouble that Boeing is going through right now. I mean, they're facing so many different challenges that they cannot overcome. Let's admit it, it's a goddamn clusterfuck over there. I'm Eric Landblom. I've flown Boeing aircraft for about 18 years in the Marine Corps as first a helicopter pilot in the CH-46 Sea Knight and as an Osprey pilot in the MV-22. My chief talent was troubleshooting aircraft and then optimizing its performance for my fellow pilots within the squadron to have effective working aircraft so they could save lives. As you can see, I have a Boeing rescue pen for all the lives I've saved in Iraq. Boeing has been the butt of many jokes, from engineering failures to inappropriate solutions with software. They just make Airbus look phenomenal. But they shouldn't be. It shouldn't be Airbus being the A team and Boeing be the B team. American pride, American talent that's in those companies need better. And the problem is at the top, their leadership. What if I tell you these are my solutions that would make Boeing back to as great as it was? And this is how we start. The vision, to bring back Boeing to its greatness. The mission, to create quality aircraft that everyone would want to buy. And the core values. Excellence, quality, what is right versus what is easy. Those are my three core values that I see for Boeing to rise back to its pinnacle of excellence. So after evaluating Boeing's situation for the last few years, I've been able to come up with my 20-80 solution. My 20% fixes is going to make Boeing 80% better. And then we can use the remaining 80% to get that last 20%. And this is how we'll start. I'm going to ask the board members to let me have these reins to be able to bring them back to where they need to be. First, we're relocating everybody back to Seattle. Seattle's the jet city, the city that helped build Boeing, the city that Boeing helped build the city. But it's not so much as a city-company relationship as much as it's the workers, the quality assurance reps, the directors, the engineers, and the corporate executives being one team, one fight, being in the same space. By having people together, things happen. In the best times of Boeing, there was a culture of excellence. People wanted to work with each other. There was a team effort. Why? Because the corporate executives, the engineers, the directorates, and the people working on the aircraft were all in the same location. When a worker had a problem, they went to the quality assurance rep. The quality assurance rep would then bring the engineer down to the aircraft itself, and they would look at the problem, create or figure out a proper solution, and be able to continue moving that aircraft down the production line to make a quality aircraft that any of the airliners would want. By having a culture of excellence, the workers will have pride to show off what they're able to do, in that their executives can be proud of their people to see what they do every day. But that doesn't happen these days. The workers are now in Seattle. The engineers and corporate executives, they're in Chicago. Now the executives want to move to the DC area. And that's a problem. When you spread yourself out thin, nothing gets done. The second thing is, I'm restructuring the whole executive and directorate side. Everybody is getting reformed out. Why? Because you're the root of the problem. I will gladly take your applications, have that great conversation to determine why would you believe in my vision, in my mission, and the core values that I'm setting to make a better future. If we can have an agreement on that, of course I'm going to bring you in. But I hate to tell you, I've got a lot of great pilots that would gladly help be on my executive team that will make things great. And don't tell me, but Eric, it's a money thing. Trust me, I am married to one of the best corporate accountants, and she knows when you guys are bullshitting. The third thing, I want to bring a culture of doing things right. When any level of decision maker has a problem, the first thing they need to ask themselves, is this right or is this easy? And trust me, that guideline will go a long ways to making the right decisions. Sure, it might delay us in production, but you know what? I'd rather have a quality product before shipping out a crappy product. Boeing right now has the culture of what is easy. I want to make it back to what is right. The next thing is, I'm going to use as much liquidable assets to buy back the outstanding shares that are out there. The problem that the decision makers are having is they're too busy trying to please the shareholders instead of going back to the question of what is easy and what is right. And I'm here to tell you that the right answer is to take away that pressure. I got you. Board of directors, you're not going to be happy with me. Yes, the stocks are going to dip, but then they're going to rebound. It's like a springboard effect. The fifth thing I would do is I would take all the current pilots of any Boeing aircraft and have a symposium. I want to hear from them. I don't want to hear from the airliners. I don't want to hear from their corporate executives. They're not flying the things. I want the end user. I want to know what they like and don't like about the aircraft. When I was going through my MBA, I was taught by a great executive that feedback is a gift. And I want the feedback not from somebody who sits in the office. I want the person who's flying in that aircraft 8 to 12 hours a day. Trust me, I used to be that guy flying that aircraft 8 to 12 hours a day. And I could tell you where I needed improvements, where I needed Boeing to trust the pilots before it puts in a damn computer to override me. Having that conversation with that end user then will enforce the airliners to have their executives have that conversation with their pilots. Because there's nothing worse than having a partnership with an organization that has trust issues between the executive managers and the end users who make them look good. I also want to put a hold on all endorsements for political candidates. I want to revise the guidelines and how we endorse or how we provide funds for somebody's campaign to be a U.S. Senator, a U.S. Congressman, or even a presidential candidate. This money is more precious than trying to buy somebody's vote or buy somebody on the inside of D.C. Best defense is a good offense. And that's why I don't need to have a politician in my pocket. I don't want the politicians in my pocket. I'm not saying I'm not going to endorse politicians. The politicians we do endorse have to follow certain guidelines. We need to relook at our government contracting. Trust me, I love the aircraft I flew, but man, the way that the contracts are written, I have a guy who's gone through this, who understands the analysis of a government contract and knows what we need and what the end user needs. And to be honest, I don't want to listen to the generals or the colonels. I want to talk to the squadron commanders and their pilots. I want to get rid of these political middle pieces and hear from the end user. I want to hear from that top pilot, that captain or lieutenant in the cockpit who has to use this thing. And I want to hear from them what they struggle with. Just like I struggled with the Osprey having a computer that overrides me to make that final decision. It's unacceptable that Boeing creates an aircraft where the computers can override the judgment of the pilot to save their lives. It killed a pilot in my unit. And it injured the best pilot in my organization because it overread him and did not know what was really going on. But the pilot did. And guess what? It killed his co-pilot. My vision for Boeing is to create the culture to allow them to be the best at what they do. If I can protect the people doing the job to build the best aircraft, to have the conversations with the engineers who are designing the best aircraft, and being able to give them the resources and the pieces that will help them build the best aircraft, regardless of profit margins. Because that quality aircraft will get more orders in which profits will come from that. It's not a matter of creating a better profit margin, but creating a better product to increase the profit volume. There are great, talented people there. There are beautiful, talented people there. And they just need the right leadership to help them do what they do best. We need to recreate the culture of trust. A trust where the executives and the workers trust each other, where the executives and the airline companies trust each other. And doing so, that creates a trust between the workers and the airliners themselves. And that's what I call the leader's triangle of trust. And by regaining that trust, we're able to then get more orders, to be able to beat out Airbus in their own game, and creating the culture of excellence. Because it's not as easy, because it's right. And by asking that question, what is right over what is easy, goes a long ways. And finally, my last piece for this dream for the future of Boeing is that the people know that we care about them. Not just the workers, not just the managers, the engineers, the directorates, but that passenger who rides in our aircraft, that flight line mechanic, that flight line technician who's out there touching the aircraft, the airspace controllers who are moving those aircraft around, and most importantly, the pilots that fly them know that we care about what they think and their safety so they can go home and be with their family after spending 8 to 12 hours in that aircraft. I'm Eric Landblom. Hey, do us a favor, spread this video around, share it with others. Consider this an open conversation with the board of directors at Boeing. Maybe they'd like to hear about it. But most importantly, let's have a conversation that allows us to explore what is the best way of doing business. What is right over what is easy.